Cardinals start ACC play on Saturday. It's Locked on Louisville. Let's get to it.
You are Locked on Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Friday edition of the Locked on Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my 6th year covering U of L, 4th year hosting this show, and I want to take the time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked on Louisville free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week, your team every day. Don't forget to leave a comment in the YouTube section below, because as you all know, that's a great way to help this show continue to grow. It is much appreciated. Today is a full preview of the upcoming matchup against Pittsburgh. First road game of the year, first ACC game of the season. Louisville traveling up to Pittsburgh, and they might have to face the Panthers at less than full strength. Some guys already announced as out. Some guys are questionable. We will react to the first injury report of the season. We'll discuss the main storylines, keys to the game, and much more in this full episode preview or full preview episode of the show. But first, today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. The Cardinals taking on a couple of firsts this weekend. This is the first road game of the 2025 season for Jeff Brohm's team. This is the first ACC game of the season for the Cardinals. They're looking to achieve another first, and that is winning up at Pittsburgh while being a member of the ACC, something that they have not done. They are 0-3 since joining the conference in 2014, playing on the road against the Panthers. The most recent loss, 2023, absolute debacle. Don't really want to talk about it. If that's okay with you all, I imagine it is. Now, Louisville trying to snap that streak historically while remaining unbeaten early on this season. It's going to be challenging regardless. Right now, they're a 4.5-point favorite, according to FanDuel. Not a pick'em game, fairly close to it. But they're probably going to, well, there's no probably about it. They are going to be operating at less than full strength, and there is a possibility that they are going to miss even more of their top players. Of course, ACC teams have to release an injury report when playing conference games, and this is what Louisville's looks like as of Thursday night. The out category, Stanquan Clark, you understood that. Travis Egan, Shemai Gates, Jamarice Wilder, those three players likely weren't going to play anyway in this game, but two notables that are out. Kewan Brown got hurt in that win against Bowling Green. He is out for Saturday's game. The other player is Rodney Johnson on that defense. And for an offense that throws the ball all over the field, this is a tough loss. Now, there are more players who are at jeopardy at missing this game. The Cardinals have 5 players that are questionable. Of course, the 2 starting running backs, Duke Watson and Isaac Brown, are questionable with lower leg injuries. You have 3 defensive players, Antonio Watts, Wesley Bailey, and Renee Conga. So not optimal at all to see that. Now, from what I've heard, it seems like Isaac Brown and Duke Watson should be able to go on Saturday. Of course, that could change. That's just the things that I've heard. But with Kewan Brown out, it's to the point where you definitely need them to be able to step in and play, and hopefully they can get to as full strength as they possibly can. More on that in the offensive keys to the game segment coming up here after the break. But ACC play beginning. The main storyline here, I think, is silencing the doubts, and a lot of it's not even external from the national media. I feel like a lot of it's internal from the fan base. I mean, you look back at the last 3 seasons under Jeff Brohm, or the past 2 and then this one, by far, there has been more criticism to begin this season than the past 2, and perhaps that's justified. But man, I can't tell you how many times I hear, well, they won the game. Yeah, they're 3-0, And it gets regurgitated different ways. It gets explained using different verbiage, but it all kind of comes back to, yeah, you won the games against non-Power 4 competition, but you can't play the way you did and expect to win games in ACC play. I'll be honest, I don't disagree fully. I think there are some times where I'm sitting there on social media like, man, tough crowd. Because the fallacy is that I've been seeing is that the team you see in September isn't the team that you're going to see in November and December. If it is, we have a whole different conversation that we need to have, right? That's a problem. That is a major red flag. But with Jeff Brohm's teams, usually they get better throughout the season. Now, 2023 was a weird tail off at the end of the year, but I have no reason to doubt that this team is going to get better throughout the season. Now, I will agree. What we've seen up to this point has not been perfect, has not been pretty for the most part, but they've been able to win. And they beat a James Madison team that, I got to be honest with you guys, I think JMU is perhaps one of, if not the best group of 5 team out there. Like, that was a good win for the Cardinals. Louisville didn't play well, and they won by 14. So I'm not arguing the contrary and suggesting that the Cardinals have put their best foot forward and they've been really good. I think they've been above average, but we know the potential that they can reach. And that's why it's kind of been frustrating to see them not play up to that level through the first couple of games. But they're going to have to against Pittsburgh. And I will agree wholeheartedly with that point. Like, Louisville has to play better. All these discussions of, well, this has to improve. Like, I feel like a broken clock. I feel like a broken record, not a broken clock. I feel like a broken record and continuing to bring up things that need to be improved upon. Well, here we are. This is where the rubber is going to start meeting the road. Is Pittsburgh a top 5 team in the conference? Perhaps not. But I think that it's the best offense that you will have played up to this point. It's the best defense you will have played up to this point. Are they better than James Madison? I don't know. I mean, losing to West Virginia kind of changed my perception of Pittsburgh, but they have the talent to really make your life miserable on any given Saturday. Another reason why this game is so critical, starting out ACC play, setting the tone, going 1-0 in conference play is very significant. Not only from a momentum standpoint, not only from a, well, we need to just continually build the foundation and improve week after week after week. A win is a win is a win. If you get a win on Saturday, that is what's going to show regardless of how you play. Now, I will make this point. The ACC is in a very interesting spot. Georgia Tech beating Clemson, looking at their schedule, looking at how Miami is playing, looking at Florida State, maybe even SMU. This battle to getting to Charlotte in early December, there's a ton of parity, which in itself is good. But when you look at the teams that Louisville's going to have to go up against to try to punch their ticket to Charlotte to get to the ACC Championship game, it is going to be an uphill battle. Like, Louisville's going to have to, A, handle business against the teams they're supposed to beat, and B, cause some issues with the games that they're not supposed to. Now, here's the thing. Looking at their schedule with how Clemson's playing, with how SMU's kind of stumbled out of the gate, is Miami the only game in conference play that Louisville theoretically is not supposed to win? So I say all that to come back to this point. Louisville can't lose to Pittsburgh if they have any shot at making the ACC Championship game. I don't think that this is a season where 2 ACC losses is going to get you to that game. I think one, and hope that somebody or 2 teams don't run the table. I think it's going to be one of those seasons. Like, if you lose to Pittsburgh, you got to run the table. I'm sorry. And maybe that might be a little overreactionary because there's a ton of parity in the conference and any team can win on any given day, and college football is all about upsets and stuff. But I'm pretty firm with that stance that Louisville loses really, at this point, they lose more than one ACC game, there is no Charlotte unless teams just falter. Looking at Florida State and Miami and Georgia Tech, I have a hard time believing that two of those three teams are going to have more than one ACC loss. And to go a step further, you still have SMU lurking, right? They don't have an ACC loss yet if they turn it up. Syracuse is on the outside looking in. So there's a lot of moving parts within conference play, but the only thing you truly can do is control what you can control, right? Win your games. And if you do that, there will be no doubt. There will be nothing up for discussion, because if you win your games, it doesn't matter who else wins, because you're going to handle your own business. So this is not going to be an easy game. I think that the offense is under the microscope in this game. A lot of people are watching this saying, okay, Miller Moss hasn't been perfect. Let's see what you got. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be a legit test for this offense and an opportunity to silence the doubters and the critics. We'll discuss the main key to victory for the Cardinals offense when we come back on this Friday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not about just playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward the most for the Cardinals in the blowout win over Bowling Green was Colin Lacey's absolute beast mode punt return for a touchdown. The punt before he muffed gave Bowling Green the ball back, got an opportunity, and completely redeemed himself with a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. The Cardinals offense faces their toughest test of the season to date on paper. James Madison threw everything but the kitchen sink at the Cardinals. They pulled out all the stops. They pulled out a ton of stunts, various plays of zero blitz. They had some other situations to where it was all about deception, right? Kind of coming down to the point to where James Madison did a ton to try to confuse Louisville. And it worked for the most part. They had two large offensive plays, Isaac Brown's touchdown run in the fourth quarter, Chris Bell's touchdown reception in the third quarter. Now, Pittsburgh's defense is known every single season to have a really good front seven. Now, are they as dominant this season as they have been in years past? Possibly not. West Virginia, I think, proved that this defense has a ways to go. They put up 31 points against the Panthers, but the Panthers have that balanced approach that they always have under Pat Narduzzi. 9 different players have recorded at least one sack for the Panthers defense. It's really solid. The rushing defense might not necessarily be as stout as it has been in years past, but even then, they've got the players on that defense. Looking at the defensive numbers, Pittsburgh is 30th in total defense, 14th in yards allowed per play, 45th in scoring defense. Their kryptonite, so to speak, if there was one, was giving up some yardage through the air, 64th in passing yards allowed, 16th in rushing yards allowed, 19th in first downs allowed, 21st in third down defense, and first in the country in sacks per game, averaging 4 sacks per game. So it is a vintage Pat Narduzzi disruptive defensive front seven. Outside of the line of scrimmage, their linebacking core, Kyle Lewis, Rasheem Bowles, Braylon Lovelace, best linebacking core in the conference, in my opinion. Really solid. Not only defending the run, but also being able to cover the passing game as well. Now, with the way that they play, Pittsburgh's secondary is prone to giving up big plays. You see that in the passing game in their numbers. Looking at what West Virginia did to the Panthers right before their bye week, West Virginia had 349 yards of total offense. 303 of those, they had 434 yards. I was looking at Pittsburgh's for whatever. 434 yards of total offense, 260 through the air. But West Virginia had some success on the ground as well, which makes me feel a little bit optimistic. Ty Edwards had 25 for 141 and 3 touchdowns. Had a long of 27, so it's not like all that came with one run. I think the key to the game for the Cardinals is setting the tone at the line of scrimmage and establishing the run. When you're facing a team that is so potent with pass rush, especially for an offensive line that's just struggling to protect Miller Moss, they're struggling to get a ton of push up front. One of the ways that you can maybe not neutralize, but you can take advantage of a really good pass rush and an aggressive pass rush, because you watch Pittsburgh, their edge rushers, they get upfield. If you can establish the run to get Isaac Brown or Duke Watson through the gaps that those edge rushers are leaving when they're trying to get upfield, and in turn it results in a huge play with a ton of yardage, well, you're keeping Pittsburgh honest. You're keeping them off balance, because Louisville has to have balance offensively. They can't be one-dimensional. They can't be behind the sticks with second and third and long conversion opportunities all day, because it's not going to be successful. It might work here and there, but consistently, I'm not sure that Louisville's going to be able to pick up consistent first downs in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, because that's where this Pittsburgh defense really smothers you, because at that point, they know you're passing. They're pinning their ears back. They're rushing the passer. And with Louisville's pass pro, it's tough. This is a game where it's going to be about switching up the tempos a little bit. It's going to be about misdirection, trying to get the ball out in space to your playmakers. Long story short, lack of better terms, Miller Moss has to be on his game on Saturday. He's got to play better than we've seen him play, like at any point. Like, this has to be his best game to date, because the Cardinals need it. Now, last year, what happened? Tyler Shuck was able to make big plays. Isaac Brown on the ground was able to make big plays. Louisville also got exponentially better offensive line play against Pittsburgh in that game, and Eli Holstein went out with an injury early in the first half, so it kind of changed the entire complexity of that game. But goes back to this point. It all starts at the line of scrimmage. Pittsburgh is not a top 5 team in the ACC, in my opinion, but what they excel at is exactly where Louisville struggles. Like, Pittsburgh has a dominant front seven. Louisville struggles with offensive line play. That's where I'm kind of worried. Like, that sort of petrifies me. So you're looking at quick throws, quick reads, quick decisions. I'm not sure if we'll take a page out of the Bowling Green playbook in the second half and operate more out of the power, or if they're going to operate more out of the shotgun when running the ball, because play action, I'm just simply not convinced that Miller Moss is going to have a ton of time for a bunch of traditional drop backs to where he's going to have the time to be able to make the throws. So this is a show me game for the Cardinals. Like, I mean, this is where, like I mentioned, the rubber is meeting the road. You have a good offense. Maybe it hasn't lived up to expectations or the potential, but you have a good offense. Cool. Go out there and prove it. This is the defense to go out there and prove it. Now, beating Pittsburgh, it's not the, of course, end of the line. Like, just because you beat Pittsburgh doesn't mean that everything is, all forgotten and the offensive woes get pushed to the side. Like, it's going to depend on how you win the game, how the offense looks, but it would be, again, another step in the right direction. I seriously doubt that the Cardinals put it all together, but if they can work on some of the things that we mentioned that they had to improve on, then you might be cooking. My main concerns lie with the Cardinals offense, but I'll be honest, there's some things about this matchup from a defensive standpoint that I've got some concerns there too. The Cardinals are going up against the first offense that they've seen that actually can throw the ball at a respectable rate. We'll discuss what worries me the most about this Cardinals defensive matchup when we come back on this Friday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For the Cardinals in the win over Bowling Green, Colin Lacey, over 200 all-purpose yards, had a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown where he went absolutely beast mode. He delivered in a huge way. The performance wasn't a fluke because this is the second time that he's done that through 3 games. And just like Colin Lacey delivered for the Cardinals, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. And while I have you here, let's talk about caffeine. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. For me, I'm a salesman who travels a good amount. The crashes are what I'm scared about the most. And with 5-Hour Energy, it was a no-brainer for me. That's what I love the most about 5-Hour Energy, and also how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere that you'd like to. The portability, how fast I feel it when I'm making those early morning drives, sugar-free. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. Cardinals versus Panthers, 12 o'clock Eastern time kickoff at Acrisure Stadium. It's always going to be Heinz Field to me. Acrisure Stadium up in Pennsylvania, less than 24 hours from now, if you're listening to this afternoon on Friday. But if you're tuning in live at midnight on Thursday night, Friday morning, we appreciate you tuning in as well. I think we can all agree Ron English's defense has by far been the strong suit of this team through 3 games. It was questionable when Brohm decided that he was bringing English back for the 3rd season. Kind of a wait-and-see approach. But to play the devil's advocate, he's also gone up against 3 fairly one-dimensional offenses. EKU, James Madison, and Bowling Green could throw the football to an extent, but if it wasn't trick plays or misdirection, their passing attacks weren't all that efficient, nor were they effective. Now, this is a completely different ballgame for Louisville. You're going up against Eli Holstein, who got hurt in that game against the Cardinals in November last year. Louisville ended up winning that game 37-9. But Pittsburgh's offense is much more explosive than any of the 3 offenses that they played so far, and it's not close. Eli Holstein does a good job of distributing the football, getting multiple players involved, and making something out of nothing. I feel like every time the Cardinals play Pittsburgh, one of the keys to the victory stays the same, and that is limiting the big plays, something that's been an Achilles heel for the Cardinals over the past couple seasons, is giving up those chunk yardage, big home run plays, right? That's where the defense has to show that they've learned from last year, because Holstein has Really good pre-snap awareness, does a good job of identifying where the pressure's coming from, great pocket presence, and does a good job of improvising, staying on his feet, evading pressure, keeping his eyes downfield, and finding his receivers when plays break down. That's when Eli Holstein is at his most dangerous, is when he has to extend the drive, because he's shown he can do it with his legs. He's not necessarily a dual threat quarterback by any means, but he definitely can extend plays, oftentimes big yardage plays, because coverages break down. You can't cover receivers for that amount of time usually. And if Louisville's pass rush isn't getting home, it's going to be a challenge. Now, one thing is Desmond Reed, do-it-all Swiss Army knife running back for the Panthers, is questionable to play in this game. He leads Pittsburgh with 6 yards per carry, 24 for 142 and 1 touchdown. But he's also a receiving threat out of the backfield, 6 for 71 this season. But he's a guy that is definitely involved in the passing game. Looking at the numbers for Pittsburgh's offense, it's pretty similar to Louisville's. Pretty close in yardage, pretty close in yards per play. Scoring offense, they are top 20 in passing yards. Now, 117th in rushing yards, and that's kind of the exact opposite of what you'd want, because Louisville's pretty stout in rushing defense. Now they're going up against a passing offense, right? We're going to see just how much this Ron English defense has improved, whether it is from a communication standpoint, knowing your assignment, solid tackling, because Pittsburgh's all about trying to bring that physicality and just be the enforcer for 60 minutes on any given Saturday. So if you let Pittsburgh get chunk yardage and move down the field, it's going to be rough. Like, this is the first, I think this is really the first test for the Cardinals defense. And no disrespect to any of the teams that they played, but I felt pretty confident that the defense was going to show up against the first 3 opponents. It's now against Pittsburgh with Holstein, Desmond Reed, Raphael Williams Jr., who's a big play receiver, Bryce Yates, Kenny Johnson, those 3 guys averaging over 14 yards per reception. You have Kataris Hicks, the Louisville transfer, who is involved in the passing game too. So there's a lot of mouths to feed in the Pittsburgh passing offense, and they distribute the targets pretty well. So if you give up big plays, it's going to be a long day at the office. For the Cardinals, you have to do 2 things, in my opinion. Number one, you got to get after the quarterback. Cleb Lubin, now's your time to shine. AJ Green, let's get it. Also, forced turnovers. One thing that Eli Holstein does struggle with, he has 3 interceptions in 3 games so far, is sometimes he gets caught staring down his receivers. You got to make him pay. If you can win that battle, the turnover battle, and you can get Pittsburgh in situations to where it's 3rd and long consistently, you should be able to get off the field, theoretically. Now, Louisville's 3rd down defense last year, kind of struggling. But, hey, this is kind of one of those prove-it opportunities for both sides of the football. I like the Cards in this one. I think it's going to be close, probably too close for comfort, but I do think that Louisville moves to 4-0. And, of course, we will react to it when we come back on Monday. But that's going to wrap up this episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Everyone have a great day, great weekend. We'll see you back here really soon. Go Cards.